Slasher double feature. Slasher Fest is here. Bring your popcorn with extra butter, please. Put some soda on ice. Let's go! The blood will flow, the gore will splatter. Forget your stress, nothing else will matter except the movies and the memories. Come on down to the drive-in tonight. Evil Dead chick is screening a slasher double feature. Slasher Fest is here. Bring your popcorn with extra butter, please. Put some soda on ice. Let's go! The blood will flow, the gore will splatter. Forget your stress, nothing else will matter except the movies and the memories.
Howdy, gang, and welcome again. And I need to change my font here. Just give me just 1 second here. There we go. Welcome everyone to the first ever Evil Dead Chicks Slasher Fest. I'm trying this out. This is a test run. We're going to be watching a couple of movies, barring any storms coming up and taking me offline and off the air. We're going to be watching the original Friday the 13th, as well as Sleepaway Camp tonight. So I think everybody that joins me tonight is in for a real treat. I've got my popcorn ready to go. This is the AMC Theaters popcorn. This is the best movie popcorn other than you popping it in a popcorn maker or popcorn machine and adding that flavor call and all that stuff. This is the next best thing to actually being at the movies, okay? So I've got that ready. I've got it in my popcorn bucket. I've got me some Mountain Dew. Might have to get a refresher on that zero sugar Mountain Dew here in just a little bit. And I believe I do have links for both of... Hold on here. I'm going to turn the sound down on that so you guys don't hear that. But I should have links to watch Friday the 13th on Pluto TV, and you can watch Sleepaway Camp when we get to that second feature on Tubi, and I have the links in the description for this video, folks. So if you don't own your own copy, there is where you can get it. Okay. And I'm not sure how many people I'm going to have in here tonight due to the bad weather in many areas of the country. So if you don't get to watch it live with me, tune in on the replay. And as always, you can support the channel in 3 different ways that don't cost you one thin dime. You can subscribe to the channel. You can like videos. You can also hit that notification bell so you don't miss any content I've got coming up. These are all things that help me get up there in the algorithms of YouTube. So, and they don't cost you a thing. You can also share my channel with friends and family members that you think might be interested in the streams and the videos that I put out. I appreciate all of that support, folks. And I'm on my way to getting 1,000 subscribers. And as promised, if I get to 1,000 subscribers, me and Candace are going to do some cosplay for you folks. I'm going to be doing Cheryl from The Evil Dead. Candace will be doing Mrs. Roper from Three's Company. So if you want to see that, let's get me to 1,000 subscribers, folks. And I will continue to put out the best content that I can put out for you folks. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and unfortunately, I'm going to have to watch the theatrical version of Friday the 13th because this is a, well, no, I was wrong on that, folks. I thought I had my 4K out here. This shows you how goofy I am. I will be watching the uncut version. Now, I'm pretty sure that the version on Pluto TV is going to be the uncut version. You know, I have been wrong before and I could possibly be wrong. But I don't think there's going to be vast differences in the uncut and the theatrical. So if you get stuck watching the theatrical version, don't worry too much about it. Okay. So just give me a minute to get my bearings here and get synced up on this movie. And as I said, this will be kind of like watch alongs, but I want this to be more of a, you know, come here, hang out, watch a couple of films, and get some sleep kind of deal, right? So instead of, you know, sitting there talking through the whole movie, there may be stretches where I'm just simply watching the movie along with you guys and gals and not saying anything. The watch alongs are more where we get in there, we make fun of things, we talk about, we share trivia and all that. This is going to be more about getting together like you would at a drive-in, like you would in a friend's basement, and just getting together and watching films and making comments here and there. I'm not saying y'all can't get in the chat and make comments, but this is going to be slightly different than the watch-alongs I do. During the watch-alongs, I usually will talk throughout the film, throwing out little tidbits of information and trivia and making fun of things that I think are outrageous and all of that. So we can still do that to some extent, but like I said, I want to make this a little bit different than the watch-alongs. I do have a couple of watch-alongs coming up this weekend, barring any bad weather. Now, Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time will be Happy Birthday to Me, starring Melissa Sue Anderson. Sorry for the glare on there. And Sunday, Sunday's watch along, also starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, will be for the original Beetlejuice. If anybody wants to join me on camera for those, please let me know and I'll make sure that you get the link. I'm going to remind Candace and see if she wants to join me because Candace loves Beetlejuice, if y'all haven't figured that out yet. If anybody wants to join me for the Slasher Fest movies, please let me know. And again, I'll make sure you got the link. I would love to have people on here with me for some of these Slasher Fest. All right. And these are going to normally take place the first Friday of the month. Okay. I just wanted to try it out and test it out and, you know, kind of give it a test drive, a test run. So it would help if I would click on this software for to open up these Blu-rays. All right. And of course, if you have your own copy of this, feel free to watch along on your own copy in the comfort of your own home. If you have the unrated and the theatrical cut, I am watching the unrated cut tonight. We can get all that extra blood, right? Getting the FBI warning. That's a big part of why we can't stream this live for everybody to watch at one time. It'd be a lot easier if we could, but all right, this thing's getting started up here. All right. Okay. So where I am queued up at is about 13 seconds in on the Blu-ray. This again is the uncut version. And I'm queued up to where it says Paramount, a Gulf Western company, and it's got the mountain in the background. So I'll give everybody, a minute or two to get queued up, and then we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to get started relatively around the same time I usually do, even though I was running a little bit late tonight. So if anybody comes in here later and needs a timestamp, at any point in time, I'll be glad to give you a timestamp as well. Okay. So we'll wait till about 7:20, and then we'll go ahead and get this first film started. And I may have to get up from time to time to take restroom breaks or to get a refresher on my soft drink or whatever, but y'all are free to keep watching the movie. You don't have to stop just because I've stepped away. And I rest assured I'll be right back. So I hope everybody, regardless of the storms in certain areas, I hope that everybody has had a good Friday, a great Friday, in fact. I had the Friday off. Steve took me out for lunch when he got home from work, and we went to the Yummy Bowl today, which is a very good place to eat if you have a Yummy Bowl near you. It's very similar to the Mongolian Grill or BD Mongolians, which we unfortunately do not have here in Louisville anymore. There's one in Lexington. The only difference between the Yummy Bowl and BD Mongolians is that you don't actually watch the people cook your food. Um, they actually bring it to your table after it is cooked. So we got about 30 to 45 more seconds here, and we'll be ready to get started. And y'all feel free to jump in the chat if you feel comfortable and, talk to your heart's content. All right. So we are ready. I'm going to close out some stuff I had open here for Friday Foolish. All right. So we're getting ready to do the countdown, and we are going to get this party started with Evil Dead 6 Slasher Fest. All right. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Press play. And we are off and running with the Paramount logo. And also, if there are those of you that have never seen Friday the 13th, this will be a treat for you. I like to think of Friday the 13th as the original summer camp slasher. like I said, y'all feel free, if you feel comfortable. Hey, Batman, to put things in the chat if you like, just like Batman just did. Feel free to have your own snacks. You don't necessarily have to have popcorn. You can have your drink of choice. I've got zero sugar Mountain Dew. If you're of age and want to have an adult beverage, feel free. And once again, these Slasher Fest double features will generally be a little bit different than the watch alongs, whereas I probably won't be talking over the entire movie and making fun of stuff. This is going to be like us getting together, and you can talk and chat and stuff. Um, but I'll probably be, as a host of these, a lot less talkative than I usually am in the watch alongs. But we are getting ready to come up on the first kill of the movie. Uh-oh. Ooh, that was nasty. So, Batman, are you watching along tonight with the Friday the 13th film? Just listening in? Okay, that's cool. Oh, ended up dropping some popcorn on the floor. And I used to buy a phone booth for anybody that is old enough to remember phone booths. That's in the days before we had all these cell phones, folks. We're getting introduced to the character of Annie, who is getting a lift from the truck driver Enos there to make the camp. And there's Crazy Ralph. Maybe in the future I can get Steve on some of these so y'all can actually get to see Steve live on some streams again. No promises, but I'll try. So we're getting the legend of Camp Crystal Lake, aka Camp Blood, as the townsfolk like to call it. And we're getting a little background on the camp. Where's Darcy? And also, if you guys and gals have any suggestions for movies that I should show on an upcoming Evil Dead Chick Slasher Fest, please let me know. The only prerequisite is they gotta be slasher films. And preferably from the golden age of the slasher film, which was primarily late 80s, or I mean, late 70s, going into the early to mid 80s. And also remember that this counts as a live stream. So if anybody wants to give a $5 or more super chat, during this live stream, you can pick any movie of your choosing for me to watch and do a review of in an upcoming movie roulette. I actually did a movie roulette today for Jeepers Creepers and Host. If you haven't checked that out. Little trivia there, I'll just throw in. I believe that book that was on the dashboard was Mario Puzo's The Godfather. It was a classic Crystal Lake sign. And this film does have a very young Kevin Bacon in it. And now we're getting introduced to Steve Christie, the owner of the town. And we're getting a introduction to some of the camp counselors, Kevin Bacon being one. There's Alice, played by Adrian King. And Marcy, Ned. We're never really sure what Alice's backstory is here. But she claims she may have to go back to California to straighten something out. But, I guess in the grand scheme of things, her backstory is not too important to the main part of the story. Hey, DePoe, you say you're going to watch both these movies? This is going to be a long live stream. Yes, it will. That is, as long as no bad storms come along and force me off the air. I do know that Dead Pit usually does a Friday night lives. So if people have to drop out and want to go over there, I have absolutely no problem with that. I like the Dead Pit boys. And the poet, because this is going to be such a long stream, um, I will more than likely have to take more bathroom breaks than I usually do. So if y'all bear with me. That's very dangerous what Ned just did there. It's a very pretty area, though, here. Annie here is going to soon learn the dangers of hitchhiking. Unfortunately, Annie's realizing a little bit too late that she took a ride from the wrong stranger. Uh-oh. Seeing some more of Tom Savini's handiwork there with Annie's death scene. Okay, so y'all let me know. I have to bring this up. Does Kevin Bacon have a boner there? And guys, I'm starting to hear thunder, so just a little warning here. Um, if I go bye bye, this may have to be rescheduled. We'll just see how things go. Right now, it's just thunder, but and Ned has tricked people and made them think that he was drowning. A word of warning to animal lovers: this snake here, there's going to be some real animal killing, which is rare for movies made in the United States. I think they should have let the poor snake live. Oh boy. Hold on, folks. Continue to watch. I'm going to take myself out for just a second here. All right, gang, I'm back. For right now, anyway. I was just watching the weather report while I was away. Apparently, some of the storms have made it into Louisville, but just not specifically our area. We can hear the thunder and stuff. So I will be with you guys and gals as long as I can be. For anybody that's interested in staying along with me for the duration, hopefully we'll get to watch both movies. Darcy's in here with me. Darcy. It looks like Ned is venturing off by himself at this point. We see that somebody is going into that cabin. Who it is at this point, we don't know. But Ned's curious, right? And actually, within the film, it's getting ready to storm on this film. Marcy's going to share her thunderstorm dream where the rain turns to blood. Which is kind of an odd dream. She says she's had it since she was a kid. Kind of odd dream for a kid to be having. Perhaps it was maybe foreshadowing concerning the subject matter of this film. You can hear the thunder getting a little louder. You guys may be able to hear it. You turn your computer off?
Yeah.
Is it getting bad?
No, not yet. I just figure I'd turn it off now.
Want to hang out and watch Friday the 13th?
No.
For y'all that heard that, I was trying to get Steve to engage in this. There may be many places where there's storms tonight. I don't know how widespread this is. Guys that are watching along or hanging out in here, I'm going to step away. I'm going to leave the camera on, but get a refresher on my drink here. Oh, well, we've rediscovered Ned. Now, you know, I know this is common sense to most people, but if you all hear the tornado sirens going off, I will definitely be shutting things down early for my own protection. Sorry, gang. Candace sent me a message. Oh, yeah. Tornado watch for our area, I know. And I think probably for her area as well. I can hear it raining or wind or something. So, guys, permit me to check out here. Oh, the wind's blowing pretty good. this door a minute. Hey, Gory Tiger. Well, we are watching Friday the 13th, the original Friday the 13th. If you want to watch along, I am watching the uncut version, Gory Tiger. We're about 42 minutes in. Hopefully, I will be able to stay on here for the duration. We are starting to have some storms around here, so hopefully, I can stay on the air. Yes, there's a camp horror theme to this first edition of Evil Dead Chick Slasher Fest. Uh, in case you were wondering what exactly this is, Gory Tiger, it's similar to the watch-alongs, but I'm trying to make it more like where we're just kind of hanging out here and watching films rather than, people can feel free to make fun of things in the films because that's all part of the process. But whereas a watch along, I usually talk throughout the movie, and there may be stretches where I'm just quiet and actually watching the movie. But you guys and gals in the chat can feel free to chat it up in there and make comments on the movie and everything. I'm hoping that this is something that becomes popular because I really would like to continue doing these. Right now, they'll be once a month, the first Friday of every month. Now, I'm trying this one out. It is on a Friday, but it's not the first Friday. But I did want to try it out and give it a trial run. I did not know when I set this up that we were in for some storms, some possibly severe storms. But I didn't want to cancel it, I get lucky though. Might be able to see or show both of these movies tonight. And Gory Tiger, if you don't own these and you want to watch along, I do have links in the description for the video that you can click on for each one of the movies. Hey, Uncle Bill, aren't you doing a Friday night lives tonight? Or is that much later? Is that like 10 o'clock or something like that? Uncle Bill says, let's go diner, number 3. Yeah, I told you. And I'm going to attempt, if I don't get blown away by the storms, to, I shouldn't joke about that, but to watch another film, to watch Sleepaway Camp. Yeah, if we all don't get blown away. I think pretty much all of Kentucky could be under the gun tonight at some point. The temperature here has come down a little bit. It's below 80 degrees now. I'm going to step away just to check out the window again and see what's going on. Wind's still blowing a little bit, but it's not really bad right now. Oh, well, killer just took Marcy out there. That is one of my favorite effects in this movie. Is the axe to the head there to Marcy. And we see that Alice and Bill and Brenda are playing strip Monopoly. Brenda's going off into the rainy, stormy night to go back to her cabin because she thinks she left the windows in her cabin open. Great way for the movie to be able to split up people, right? We see that the owner of the camp, Steve Christie, is at a local diner, a Blairstown diner. I'm not sure what Steve got other than coffee, but $2.25. He had to have gotten something else back in 1979, 1980. $2.25 probably would have got you more than coffee. Just a reminder, guys and gals, for those of you that are watching along and you may have come in later, I am watching the uncut version of this. I'm 50 minutes in, 50 minutes and 33 seconds in. Brenda is in the bathroom area of the camp, trying to find a faucet that will come on. So we actually, gang, don't have that much more to go for Friday the 13th. This is only an hour and 35-minute long movie, and we're about 52 minutes in to this film. So evidently, Steve Christie's Jeep has stopped on him, and but one of the local cops has pulled up and offered to give him a lift. Hey, Wes, you say, question for Dana. Did you always love the first Friday the 13th, or did you gradually warm up to it? If I'm remembering correctly, Wes, I always did love the first Friday the 13th. But I will tell you, it was not the first Friday the 13th that I saw. I saw some of the later ones, like Friday the 13th Part 3 used to come on one of our local television channels quite often. And so that was one of the first ones I watched. I think I even probably watched Part 4 before I watched the original one. I don't know how many of you guys and gals out there watched them out of order. Some of the younger crowd probably did. But yeah, I pretty much remember always loving the first Friday the 13th. That's a good question, though, Wes. Wes, you say, I wasn't a fan of the non hockey mask Jason movies as a kid. It wasn't until I was a teenager that I appreciated one or two. Yeah, I think depending on what age you were when you watched some of these things may have made a difference in, um, which ones you liked better. Then as you grew up, your tastes may have changed, your attitudes may have changed over different movies. So Brenda is hearing what sounds to be a young boy saying, "Help me." And so she's going to, unfortunately go out in the rain to try to find this kid. Sorry, gay. I don't mean to be yawted. I took a nap before Candace and I did Friday Foolish, and I think I've got residual effects from that. Uncle Bill, I'm not sure if corn liquor would wake me up. It'd probably put me asleep. I'm trying to drink these zero sugar Mountain Dews to give me caffeine. So amazingly enough, we don't see Brenda's death. We just see the results of it later. and we hear her screaming. Well, actually, I don't think Steve's asleep yet, Wes. And generally back here in this room, um, in the back room where me and Steve have our computers and most of our movies and stuff, I can't hear him snore anyway. Batman, you say that's true. I disliked both Army of Darkness when I was a preteen and started to like it as I grew older. Same way with Evil Dead 2. No, I watched Evil Dead 2 before I watched the first Evil Dead, and so I always had a fondness for Evil Dead 2. And I think because I watched Evil Dead 2 first, that by the time Army of Darkness came along, I appreciated that type of humor that Sam Raimi had interjected into Evil Dead 2, and that it was more overblown in Army of Darkness. Oh, goodness, okay. Just can't quit yawning now. So Alice says that she thought she heard Brenda scream, and so Alice and Bill are going to go out and see if they can find everybody. So they're looking for Brenda first, and then they think she must be with Jack and Marcy. That's interesting, Uncle Bill. You say, I think Friday 2 might be my favorite slasher film of the 80s. I like Friday the 13th Part 2. Friday the 13th Part 2 kind of expands on the legend of Jason and everything. Oh, I love this image of them finding the axe with a really thin line of blood around it, laying on the pillow. But they still haven't found anybody, right? And now I'm sneezing, gang. Um, hey, Eli. The poet, you say, I just want a new Jason film. This series thing better lead to it. Yeah, I want another good Jason film. That's all I'm going to say. Uncle Bill, you said the first Friday is all about Betsy. Yeah, it pretty much is. Yeah. I want to thank all you guys and gals for, because I'm sure there's probably some gals in here that just aren't chatting, um, for popping in here. This is making me feel good about the first Evil Dead Chick Slasher Fest. I'm hoping to continue these. They will be on the first Friday of each month. Batman, I got to put that up on the screen here. That's great. Um, Batman says true. Betsy was slapping Alice like a female pimp. And we're going to see said slapping coming up here shortly. we have the cop mentioning that it's bad enough that it's Friday the 13th, but they got a full moon. He says they got more homicides and all of that business. But, Steve kind of shrugs it off and says, you make a science out of coincidence. So, unfortunately, Sergeant Tierney is going to have to go to a car accident. So, he's going to have to let Steve off at the end of the road up to Camp Crystal Lake. So somebody's shining a light in Steve's eyes, and it's evidently somebody he knows. Oh, and he got stabbed for his trouble there. Goodness, I don't know. It's making me yawn so much. So someone just turned off all the lights, or they turned off the generator. I did like Hard Eyes Batman. In fact, that was um, my first edition of Evil Dead Chick Eats Crow, because I had to eat crow because I was talking about how initially that I didn't think that I was going to like it and didn't have any plans to watch it. And, a couple of people came to me and talked like it wasn't that bad of a movie. So I thought I would give it a chance, and I did. And I was pleasantly surprised. So, yes, I did like Hard Eyes. And just a heads up for those of you that are planning to stick with me for both films, I will have a short intermission um, in between the films where everybody can, feel free to get them another snack or, some more something to drink. Take restroom breaks, all that good stuff before we get started with Sleepaway Camp. Oh yeah, uh, yeah. The sex toy thing was funny. There were some things that, but I think they were meant to be hokey and funny like that. So I really like the mixture of it having the overblown romantic comedy elements to it, and then the um the slasher elements as well. I thought it was really clever the way it was put together. Gang, I'm going to walk over and look out the window. I'm just trying to keep an eye on the weather to make sure the bad weather doesn't sneak up on me. I'm also going to go check to see where the temperature's at. It actually seems pretty quiet out there now. But I don't want to say too much. So Alice went looking for Bill, who was going to check the generator. Oh no. Well, doesn't well, Bill's just hanging around, right, folks? Um, but unfortunately, he's not going to be helping Alice anymore. And soon we're going to see Mr. Tom Savini making an appearance as Brenda. But if you look very closely or you do a frame by frame, you can clearly tell that it's a man with a wig on. And there are some behind the scenes pictures of Tom Savini in a nightgown and a wig. I must say that this movie does move fairly quickly. Perhaps it's just because I like it. I don't know. Got a little over 20 minutes left in the film, so we're about the last quarter. So Betsy Palmer has made her official entry into the film, and she's telling Alice that she used to work for the Christies, and she says, you don't have to be scared, Alice. Um, but Alice is saying, they're all dead. They're all dead. Uh, Whoever it is that's killed these people will get you too. And she's like, I'm not afraid. So she's starting to tell Alice more about Jason, the little boy that drowned. So Betsy Palmer's character, Mrs. Voorhees, is acting very strangely at this point, and she reveals to Alice that Jason was her son. And Alice becomes very suspicious and says, "Where's Mr. Christie?" And she's like, "Oh," she's so wistful. She said, "I couldn't let them open this place again, could I?" So she's convinced now in her delusions that Alice is responsible for her son drowning, and she's going to kill Alice. But Alice, thankfully, is very efficient and is fighting back. Well, Annie's just hanging out in Mrs. Voorhees' Jeep there. Oh, and Steve's hanging around too, right? These close-ups of Mrs. Voorhees, face as she's talking like a little boy, and a close-up of her mouth, and then her supposedly answering Jason. I think it's very creepy and very effective. So the severe thunderstorm warning should be over with by now. Like I said, it has quieted down, so I'm hoping it stays quiet for the duration of Evil Dead Chicks Slasher Fest tonight. We've got approximately 14 minutes left in this film, and then we're going to have a short intermission. And I'm going to try to play one of those drive-in intermission clips for you guys that are just hanging around, waiting for me to come back. And we'll have about 5 minutes or so between films. And here is what Batman was referring to when he said that Betsy was slapping Alice like a female pimp. But Alice is a fighter, though. Yeah, exactly, Batman. You say, yeah, when she hits Pamela with the pot or pan inside the pantry. Uh-oh. Looks like Mrs. Voorhees has found Alice in her hiding place. So unfortunately, Alice does the thing that she shouldn't do, in that she's basically hit Mrs. Voorhees one time and she drops her weapon and leaves. But for those of us that have seen many, many slasher films, we know that more than likely Mrs. Voorhees is not dead, right? But we are shortly going to be coming up on the final few minutes of the film. Um, this didn't seem like even an hour and 35 minutes. I really enjoyed going back and watching this again with you guys and gals. Um, and I'm hoping we have as much fun and hopefully no interruption other than normal interruptions during sleepaway camp. So um, this is the final big fight scene between Alice and Mrs. Voorhees. So I love this slow motion shot of Alice running with the machete and cutting Mrs. Voorhees' head off. And Goof there, those are actually man's hands there. Those are actually Tasso Stravakis' hands, who was a friend and assistant to Tom Savini. There are also behind the scenes photos Tasso with the fake head apparatus on him. Hey, I'm awake, Uncle Bill. I am still awake, actually. I get enough of this caffeine in me. I should be fine for the second movie. Hey, Hope. I have not seen the new look of Jason. So what do you think of it, Hope? Or has anybody else seen the new look of Jason? I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts on it. Especially since we're watching the end of a Friday the 13th film. Hope you say I like it. I know everyone says it looks horrible. I'm going to have to check it out. Oh, and there is Jason, like the first Jason, Ari Lehman, who actually has a band called First Jason. That's the name of his band. And he appears to pull Alice under the water. But no, Alice is still alive. She's in the hospital. And the doctor's telling her it's all over. Alice, it's all over. But as we know, you know, now we know there's, um, because there's so many sequels, we know that, it's not all over. Yeah, that's what people are saying, Hope, that we're probably getting a new Friday the 13th film by, yeah, I would say at least next year. Now, gang, a little reminder for those of you that have just come in. There is going to be a second film, barring any storms coming up and causing me to have to go off air. We will be watching Sleepaway Camp for those of you that want to stick around to watch that with me. I do also have a link for Sleepaway Camp in the description for this video if you don't own a copy yourself. But in between the two movies, I'm going to be having an intermission, a drive-in style intermission. I'm going to try to play a short video clip for you guys and gals that want to stick around. I'm going to, take another bathroom break and stuff. And then in 5 or so minutes, we'll get started with Sleepaway Camp. And because we're showing two movies tonight, I'm probably not going to let the credits run out. When the credits start, I'm probably going to shut this one off. Well, Hope, I probably will do Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3 at some point, as long as people keep wanting to watch these Evil Dead Chicks Slasher Fest. So we are officially at the credits for Friday the 13th. So I am going to go ahead and stop this film. And I'm going to try to get the intermission queued up. I think you did tell me, Hope, that slashers are your favorite genre of horror, which I think is just completely awesome. But y'all bear with me. I'm going to try to get this intermission queued up. And I'm going to go away for a few minutes. In about 5 minutes, we'll get started with Sleepaway Camp, folks. So I'm going to take myself out for a few. Well, gang, I'm not going to be able to play that because that is not a file. It was supposed to be an MPEG-4 file, and it's not. And so I'm just going to take myself out of the stream. But I will be back in about 5 or so minutes, and we'll get started with Sleepaway Camp. Okay, gang. I'm going to be away for a few minutes longer. No emergencies or anything. I just need to fix myself something to eat really quickly before we get started. So, if y'all will bear with me, I will be back in a few. No, Wes, I did not go to sleep. In fact, that was just an intermission time because or we have been in the process of watching a couple of movies tonight. And by the next time I do an Evil Dead Chick Slasher Fest, I will have a intermission video created by me that I could play during intermission time. Um, so that's one of the things, when you try this stuff out, you figure out what works, what doesn't, and what you need to do for next time. Um, so, in a few minutes, or a couple of minutes or so, we will be starting the original Sleepaway Camp. Okay. So, for those of you that are still feeling up to it, you are welcome to join me for yet another movie. This will be the second feature of the night and the final feature of the night. And barring any storms coming up and taking me offline, we will be able to complete it. So, for those of you that can hang around, awesome. For those of you that got other places to go and people to see, I understand. I will be here for the duration, barring any storms. But I am queued up I'm queued up on my Blu-ray. About 11 seconds in, it's on the screen. It says, "In fond memory of Mom, a doer." Now, I do also have a link to Sleepaway Camp for those of you that want to watch along and you don't have your own copy to do so. I believe it is on Tubi. So you can either click on that link or go on Tubi and search. But I will give everybody a couple of minutes and then we'll go ahead and get started with this film. This one's a little bit shorter than Friday the 13th. Okay. So, for those of you that were here for the first film, I hope you enjoyed watching Friday the 13th with me. And I hope that those of you that can stick around for this second feature will enjoy watching a sleepaway camp with me. I do have some soup that hopefully you guys and gals won't mind me eating because I think my blood sugar was starting to drop. And that was one reason I was yawning so much. For anybody that's diabetic, sometimes there's weird symptoms when your blood sugar starts to get low. Also, my lower lip was becoming a little numb. So that's another sign to me. Soup and jellos, Uncle Bill. I don't think so, not this weekend. But hopefully I can get another soup and jellos up maybe next weekend. Don't hold me to that, Uncle Bill, but I will certainly try to. But there's not going to be jellos with this soup, unfortunately. It took me a second to realize what you were saying there or what you were asking. All right, gang. We're going to go ahead and do the countdown and get started with Sleepaway Camp. Because I will have to get a little bit of sleep tonight because I'd have to work just 4 hours tomorrow, and I'm working 8 to 12 for Smile Doctors. So doing my diligent weekend duty that I have to do every once in a while. So let's go ahead and do this countdown and get this movie started. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Press play. And we're off and running with the second feature for tonight. We're seeing American Eagle Films Corp. And this was another movie that I saw the second and possibly the third Sleepaway Camp films before I saw the original Sleepaway Camp. Looks like there's some severe storms in my mom and dad's neck of the woods. Now, this was a film that my aunt Sandy had told me about, and she had seen it, and I hadn't at the time. And she was telling me about the kill scenes in it. And I was like, well, I got to watch this movie. And I knew that it had a connection with Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3, of course. And we see that this currently, I guess, Camp Arawak is for sale. We're going to find out that that is a current thing, and now we're going to go in the past and see what happened to cause Camp Arawak to be closed. So this movie, for those of you that get to stay with me for the duration of this, we're going to be seeing some scenes that weren't shown in a lot of movies, especially in 1983 when this film was released. And we're gonna see those scenes coming up. And I must say that this film does look really good on the Blu-ray. So if they eventually put this out on 4K, I don't know how much better they can make it look, but we'll shall see. So we see the girl that's water skiing is telling them to turn the boat because they're obviously going to hit these kids and their dad if they don't figure out a way to turn the wheel quick enough. So now we're 8 years later, and we're going to meet crazy Aunt Martha. And Ricky is played by Jonathan Tiersten, and Angela is played by Felissa Rose, who I met a few years back. Very nice woman. If, I've said this before, but I'll continue to say it. If you ever get a chance to meet Felissa Rose at a horror convention or a horror event of some kind, definitely go up and meet her. She is just one of the sweetest people in the world. Oh, well, thanks, Batman, for being in here with me for a little while. Yeah, you try to take it easy over at Mickey D's. Um, and you say, just like Angela replies back to Paul, good night. I can't do it exactly like her, but it's like, good night. How they kept from breaking up with laughter, I don't know. What is with that? I have to laugh at some stuff on this one. I know that I said that this wasn't going to be exactly like the watch alongs, but man, I've got to laugh at that ad. And there's Ronnie, played by Paul D'Angelo, with the shorty shorts. How a man can wear shorts that short, I don't know. And furthermore, I don't know if I want to know, right? So we're introduced to Chris Collette's character here of Paul. Oh, and there's the infamous Judy. And this is Kathy Kami, or Catherine Kami, playing Meg, Meg. Um, and she was also very nice. If you get a chance to meet her at a convention, definitely go up and meet her as well. I believe she was also in the soap opera All My Children. I'll tell you, Artie is one creepy character. But they said the guy that played Artie, Owen Hughes, was a very sweet guy, and he, you could often see him over in a corner, just reading, very intellectual like. This is really gross. Well, that's a lot of corn. So we're gonna come up on the first real kill of uh the movie, the first camp kill, I guess. I apologize if y'all hear Sammy whining. I'm not sure what's going on with him. Uh-oh. And these are some um creative and good death scenes in this film. I will say that. As you actually see the blisters popping up on this guy. And this is like a lot of other slasher movies. In this case, the owner of the camp doesn't want any damage to come to the camp that he's running. It's a reputation. And so who tells Ronnie, I want this ambulance out of here as soon as possible? And Ronnie's like, well, why? It was only an accident. And he says, because I don't want the kids or their parents to know that this ever happened. So now he's going to Ben and the assistants in the kitchen to tell them, um, if anybody asks about um, Artie's departure, just tell him that he found himself another job if anybody should ask. And he's offered them, some extra money per week. So I had never, honestly, I had never heard of the mind over matter trick before seeing this movie. So if anybody has ever participated or had this done to them, please share. You know, I mean, you don't have to share in detail because this involved somebody's face hitting another guy's ass. So I'm sorry to have to take another bathroom break, gang. Um, but I'm going to take myself out of the stream. Y'all continue watching this lovely baseball scene that it's said that it goes on forever. And I'll be right back. Well, gang, it's starting to thunder again. I thought maybe we might escape having any more storms or anything. So we'll I'll monitor how it's doing, and if it gets too bad, I'll probably have to get off of here. Um, and we may have to continue this one at a later date, but I'm going to try to stay on here as long as I can. I was hoping, after that first round, we wouldn't have any more, but, that was positive thinking, I guess. We're soon going to come up on the part that Batman was referring to before he had to leave, where Angela hasn't really said anything in the movie, and she's going to actually say goodnight to Paul here at the end of this scene. So we're getting little bits and pieces. Of course, we saw the first scene of what happened to Angela's family, but Paul is, starting to open up to her, and he tells a funny story about they put the girls' paintings on the flagpole last year. Then he thinks better of it and says he's sorry, but Angela seems to be endeared to Paul. And Judy's jealous. So, for those of you gals that would like to see a little male nudity, we're going to get to see that here shortly. But it's these guys trying to naively a little bit get the girls to get in the water and go skinny dipping with them. There's the male nudity there, male ass. There's more of those short shorts on guys. Again, I don't know how they did that. As Joe Bob says, if you know what I mean, I think you do. I don't think I would ever get into a canoe with someone like Kenny. And apparently, Leslie, or the girl playing Leslie, got sick. And so that last scene you saw of supposedly Leslie swimming towards the shore was actually, I believe, Robert Hiltzik, the director's wife, Missy. Uh oh. No, I don't think you're going to catch Kenny back at the bunk. This guy apparently likes calling all these kids peckerheads. Oh no. Now there's Kenny with a snake coming out of his mouth. That's what I mean. There's like these cool and unique death scenes and after death scenes in this film. At the time, I hadn't really seen in a lot of other movies. Y'all may be able to hear that thunder again. So we see now that Angela is very talkative now. At least to Paul, she is. I'm awake, Uncle Bill. I'm planning on a. Am I okay? Yeah. I mean, it's thundering again, but I'm just gonna see how it's gonna go. Um, I think I got my blood sugar to come back up. I'm still a little tired, but I'm determined unless it's a weather related thing, I'm gonna stay with the second movie. May have to get me some more caffeine there. More thunder. Have y'all had any storms yet? So Paul wanted to sneak a couple of quick kisses from Angela there. Uncle Bill, you say should be in the next hour. I'm just hoping we don't have any storms like from 8 to 12 tomorrow, because that's when I'm supposed to be working. And, I'm not saying we'll have a bunch of phone calls or anything. There goes that thunder again. But the last time I had to work a late Friday and we had thunderstorms, I was on a call with someone and the power blinked and I lost the call. What's a kid like that doing with a knife? It's not like it's a Swiss Army knife or anything. I want to take a quick peek outside and see if I can see any wind or anything. Yeah, the lighting's getting ratcheted up. It was the thunder again. But y'all can hear that, those of y'all that are tuned into the stream. I want to check the radar. That's not exactly what I wanted. I mean, we do have a tornado watch until 11 p.m. So apparently the severe threat is supposed to end shortly after midnight. Um, but what I was looking for was um, like the moving radar to see where exactly these storms were. But and I hate to be doing this while I'm uh, supposed to be doing the stream, but so apparently we're right. Louisville's right in the middle of this big patch. Um, but by midnight, hopefully this stuff will be pushed out. But that's a couple of hours from now. So I guess we'll see. Hey, dude who loves movies. Um, thank you. You said, "What's up, everyone? Don't forget to roundhouse kick that like button." I appreciate that. We're having a little bit of weather here, dude. So I hope that I can stay on here for the duration of Sleepaway Camp. I'm just kind of keeping an eye on the weather. So we'll get back to the movie here. And these terrible kids have thrown water balloons at Angela, and Ricky is threatening to kill them all. And Mel intervenes. And here's where the guy utters the line, "I got to take a wicked dump first." Has anybody has anybody ever heard someone utter that phrase other than on this movie? Somehow, I don't think this would be enough to keep somebody locked in a bathroom stall, but it's a movie. And he could have always crawled under the door, but then, of course, there would have been no movie. Okay, and I have a question. Is that toilet paper on the outside of the bathroom? Uh-oh. That looks dangerous. Ooh, that was nasty, what those bees did to this guy. So this one has went by pretty quickly too. So we're almost an hour into Sleepaway Camp. And like I said, hopefully this second storm won't get so bad that I can't finish this up. So this is one of the scenes that I was referring to that um I don't think it was wrong of them to show this scene. This is just an example of a scene that you did not see often in horror movies or otherwise. Um, but I think it concerns a little confusion for Angela, and this is going to make a little more sense at the end of the movie, which I don't want to give away at this point. And at that point, Angela becomes upset, and the makeout session with Paul is over. I don't believe I've ever played capture the flag. I played a game in PE class when I was in school called Sink the Ship. I think that's what it was called. But I never played capture the flag. Did anybody ever play capture the flag? Is that even a real game? Oh, and there comes Judy again. I think it's starting to rain. I'm going to go check, see how things are going. Yep, it is definitely pouring right now for anybody that's still with me tonight. So hopefully, like I said, there's not a whole lot left to Sleepaway Camp. Like I said, we're about an hour in, 4 minutes, and we'll be an hour in, and there's only 24 minutes left after that. So, but it is still thundering. I tell you, I never wanted to wear my ponytail from the side. Okay, so I think we're getting some wind now, folks. I have to keep jumping up. Yeah, we're really getting some wind this time. So if I go away, folks, that probably means that we lost power. So for those of you that are sticking around with me, if I go bye bye, that's probably what has happened. More wind. Yeah, honestly, I don't like that wind, folks. That's why I'm keeping an eye on it. Yep, that's some wicked lightning too, folks. Okay, gang, it's getting pretty bad here, and I know there's some people still hanging around. But I think I'm going to have to call it a night. Unfortunately, I hate to do that. But I tell you what, the next Evil Dead Chick Slasher Fest, we will finish up Sleepaway Camp. I promise. But I think I'm going to have to get to a safer place. I don't like being back here in this back room with the wind so bad. So um, I'm going to skedaddle on out of here, folks. Sorry for the early departure, but it's essential that I get somewhere a little bit safer. Y'all stay safe, and I will see everybody next time.